but this stood out to me right before I came on the call. I was just flipping through the book and it stood out to me. So I want to read it. It's only 2 sentences. I feel like it kind of goes with everything we've been talking about and how you just said you had hit your head against the wall for a little bit and then, you know, found this space where things opened and things moved and things shifted and things were different. So I'm just going to read this because I felt like it belonged here today. We are surrounded by love always. The goddess may allow rage and anger to heal when she is ready to allow her own sovereignty to rise. When she is ready for this particular story to be complete.
I love that. This is
I
very
was like,
fitting.
oh my gosh, it's like 2 sentences, but I read it right before I hit come on the call. And then we started talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's those sentences, you know, like you even said it, those exact, you said what I said in different words, but the fact of it, it'll move when you no longer need it to show up. You know, it'll leave when you
Yes.
no longer need the message. The story can
Yes.
change when you no longer need to tell that story anymore.
Hi.
Hello, 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 Holy One. You look glorious.
Thank you, as do you.
Oh, it's so lovely to be with you. And thank you so much because if I'm not mistaken, you just got back yesterday.
I did. I did.
You're so good to come in here again, and you just got home yesterday.
I literally got home right before call that we did yesterday. I literally
Oh,
got
wow. Oh, wow.
because I
Okay.
decided I was like, if I can make it and we can get home in time, I'm gonna
Oh,
be
you're
on that
so
call. So I'm
good. Oh,
excited.
my goodness. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. I wasn't sure where you were coming in from. Okay. Wow. Yeah. You're so good. And you know what? There's a way to look at that as well as, and I hope this is received as it's intended,
Mhm.
being so good to you. Right, right. Because a lot of times, even when we're being so good, like making it to all the things and showing up in
Yes.
all the ways, we aren't doing it really for maybe the most beneficial reasons.
Hmm.
But then there are
Hmm.
the ones that we make happen that
Yes.
are, yes, truly nurturing and serving our own essence as much as they are so blessing the space we're being in and the people we're being with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, so we can go anywhere you want to go with this. I'm just going to say real quick, everybody, this is Tanny.
Hello, everybody.
And some of you already know Tanny. We've done this before. We'll do it
Yes.
again. And the last one we did, oh my goodness, I got so many emails and direct messages of appreciation from women who are navigating a lot of the spaces we talked about in the video.
Oh, wow. Okay, good. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, like they were, especially the homeschool space
Yeah.
and kind of wrapping their heads around that. And I get it because I can remember that. I can remember entering into that, and it was really weird then because I think you guys are considerably younger than me in the space of navigating young children going into homeschool.
Yes.
My young child who was going into homeschool is now 26 years old. So it was even different then. I think it's changed in a good way. but like I can, and I think there's still pockets of spaces that haven't caught up yet, but I can remember even it being hard with family. Like you tell
Yeah,
your close family members that you're going to homeschool and they almost look at you like, why? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that?
with us, it was funny because we know people who are teachers. And so they were like, what do you mean you're going to homeschool? Are you sure you really want to do this? And so in the beginning, like I said, with the homeschool extension, everything was laid out and I just had to teach off the lesson plan. And then when that
Mm,
it became overwhelming for my son when he got to fifth grade, which was the first year of middle school. And it was literally just paper after paper after paper and book after book after book that he didn't understand what he was reading. And he started to have anxiety.
mhm,
And I was like, we're not gonna do this. And so I started to explore and I found some books that talked about what the education system in America, how it was actually built and
mhm,
how it was not built to educate, that that's not what it was for. And it talked about,
mhm,
age segregation, segregating these kids by age. So you only associate with kids who are in your same age group, subject segregation, where everything is taught separately. And so I always thought that was the way that it was supposed to be. And so when I learned these things, it gave me this freedom. And I felt like, wow, we can actually have fun with this. Now we
mhm,
do, I do things like we combine all of these different subjects. So I like my kids to go at things from a place of curiosity because when you're interested in something, it sticks with you, like because you like what you're learning. So this year, what we're doing is I'm like, okay, you're going to pick a part of the body, a system of the body, and then you just find out stuff about it. And you're also going to do some kind of visual. And so my kids have just taken off with this. Like they're putting all these things
mhm.
together and they're like, Mom, look at this. Look what I found. So we're just doing that with these different little things. With geography, countries and states, they pick one. I have a little template that I give them for information to include, and then they make a book on Canva. And so they get to go wild with that, and we print it out, and then we involve my husband in it, Chuck. And, since he's at work during the day, we present this to him.
I love
He
that.
comes home. So it's fun,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
And it's so cool because it takes that structure setting that, in my humble opinion, drains life out of the kid.
Yes.
Structure's great, and some kids like and need routine and structure, but there's always different ways to go about it to where there's still
Yes.
creativity and
Yes.
opportunity for more time to be a kid. Like just go
Yes.
around and just be a kid. So what I loved about homeschooling, and I think you do it too, is if it was we were learning about a specific part of the body, and then that would have the science or biology side of it, and health side of it, and then they would have to write, like I would designate like a paragraph or three paragraphs or whatever, depending on how old they were, 1500 word essay, depends on the age, right?
Right.
Depends on where we're at. And then that would bring in grammar, and that would bring
Yes.
in sentence structure and
Yes.
spelling. And so like
Yes.
instead of having like seven classes that have all these components, we would take one main thing and then we would throw all those types of stuff, all the things we could into
Yes.
that, and it would
Yes.
it would free up so much more time for the parent, for the child to live life, because that's where the majority of learning truly happens, is when we're
Yes.
living life.
That's right.
And they're way I find that my kids were way more involved in what it takes to like be human. Like, what do you
Yeah.
have to do to like take care of your home and take care of your
Yes.
body, and what are the
Yes.
things you're supposed to like know, like I can remember a lot even now. My daughter, she was joking the other day, she's 26, her husband is her age, he went to regular school, and there was like a joke between them where he never learned cursive. And I'm not saying you have to learn cursive, but when we went to the driver's license place for my daughter to get her driver's license, they say sign your names, your signature.
Yes.
And so she did. And the lady said, "Oh my gosh," this was, years and years ago. She said, "Oh my gosh, you hardly ever see cursive anymore." and people don't have signatures like it was traditional to have like a cursive
Yes.
signature. And I
Yes.
was like, really? And she's like, yes, some
Hmm.
schools don't even teach cursive anymore. And I'm not saying that's like a bad thing. I'm just saying that I think it's neat that you, as the homeschool parent, you make the call on what goes on the docket within reason. There are state standards, and all states are different. And your regulation to your requirement to have the child tested and or evaluated depends on the state you're in. Florida
Hmm.
has incredible laws. I love Florida's law. I'm in Florida, so I was very grateful because they are very homeschool friendly, which is very nice. But I think more states are not are homeschool friendly now than were before. So, but that was a big space of one of our last videos, and we
Yes.
got a lot of feedback. So I was thinking maybe we could even, if you're up to it, Tanny, if you want, maybe we could take a little time and do a little, like make some notes of finer points of help, guidance, go
Yes.
tos, and then we can come back in and do just a homeschool video. I'm not ready to do one
Absolutely.
today, but
Absolutely.
we've got some stuff I want to talk about outside of that. But
Okay.
we did get a lot of feedback on the homeschool space. So
Okay.
there's a lot of women and men out there in our community and beyond that are navigating this space. And so we would love to offer, we're not experts, but we have
No.
understandings. So we'd be
Absolutely.
happy to share. What I want to
Yes.
talk about, first and foremost, love, like anything else that this births, is awesome. But you left me a message and I loved every word. Even the breath you took between the words was powerful. The energy was just so through the roof, gorgeous. You left me a message about something that happened between, and if we're not supposed to talk about it, just shut me down and I'll edit it out. But if we can
Okay.
go here, we'll leave it, okay? But a message between you and your mom, or a situation, a
Yes.
space between you and your mom. And
Yeah.
I feel like that would be such a beautiful benefit to bring into the space because so many people are very grateful for this space bringing in real life confirmations of
Yeah.
what's possible. And we did an energy session, in a sense, when we did a ceremony. And it was, I think that's what is like one of the main core points prior to this. I think there were other things after it and probably things before it as well. But there was the ceremony, winter solstice.
Yes.
And it wasn't that we did the ceremony to try to move the relationship of you and your mom. That, well, I mean, that wasn't on my docket. I don't know if it was on your intention. Maybe it was in some way, some way. But um, we talked about how it's got to always be us first. Anything we do, it's got to be you first. You got to do it for you, not for your kid, not for your husband, not for your wife. You got to do it for you. And then because you've done it for you, it then can be available to kind of ripple out from you. And it's in the work we do with Acasma quantum energy. So if this resonates, what we're going to share here today, if this pings you or feels like a connection point that you feel comfortable with, we're talking about Acasma quantum energy. It's a higher vibrational space of connection, and it's here to assist humanity as we move through this new space of ourselves. So we did a ceremony actually connected directly with the Rise of the Goddess course that starts in March. So again, if this is resonating with you, please check out my information. Tanny is in this course. We did a ceremony together, the whole class, the whole group. And Tanny, you're not the only one. There have been a lot of people sending me emails of movement in the family lines, but I asked you to come on here and talk today because your message was so beautiful and so I thought it was profound because I think there are so many women and men that relate to that moment of, it's emotional to think about it, but continuing to put our relationships in a specific alignment without taking a breath, stepping back for just a second, and giving them the possibility to be new. I mean, that's huge. And you did that. You did that.
Yeah.
So, will you take us there? Will you take us there? In your words, your way, what happened?
So, and during the ceremony, that was not part of my intention. I didn't have that in my mind. I just went with the ceremony and let the energy flow. But, and I don't know how long it was after that, my mom sends me a text and she called me. And I kind of looked at the phone. Let me go back a little bit. My mom and I have always had a strained relationship. Our relationship has not always been on the best terms. Um, and the most respectful way I can think to say this is that my mother has struggled with mental health issues um, probably her whole life, definitely since I was a child. And there were a lot of things that I did not understand because I didn't understand what that was. Then, when I got into my adult life, and I started to understand my childhood a little better and what had happened, I held a lot of resentment and I was angry because I felt like you were my parents, you were my mother. Like the relationship is supposed to look like this and it doesn't look like this and it didn't look like this. And I was mad and I held on to that for a long time. And then there were things that happened that caused even more distance and separation in our relationship. And I was at a point where I started to realize, okay, I'm living in this supposed to be space. And if I'm living in a place of it's supposed to look like this, I'm not honoring what's actually going on in the present. Like the reality is, this is our relationship. So right now, what I need to do is ask, what do I need to do in order for this relationship to work? Or how is this relationship going to work right now? And I honestly, I had to set some boundaries. And like I said, things were not the best. We did not speak on a very regular basis, but and that's where our relationship had pretty much been. When we would talk a lot of times, it would not end well. Um,
Mm.
and I wouldn't feel good after the conversations. I'm sure she didn't feel good after the conversations. So when she called me the other day, I looked at the phone and I was like, do I want to answer this right now? But what came to mind was something that you say often is about if we do not allow people the space to be new, they won't ever be new. So I had that had been playing in my mind for quite some time. And so in the background, like I've been telling myself, if I consistently say, this is how my mother is, this is what's going on, and it's never going to be any different because I'm putting that energy out there. And so I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to answer the phone and I'm going to talk to her. And we talked and we had an amazing conversation. Like she telling me stuff and asking me questions about star seeds and like all of these different spiritual spaces that I've been kind of talking about here and there. Like I used to do a lot of stuff on my Facebook page and on different social media. And so she would pick up on some of that, but we weren't in the same space about it. And she like when we talked about it, she was like, yeah, like I get that. And I get this too. And so this is awesome. And I want to know more. And she was like, some of these things I'm not ready for yet because I don't fully understand them, but I want to learn more from you because you've been doing this. And it was the first conversation we'd had in a very long time where when I got off of the phone, I actually felt good about it. And so to me, that was me giving my mother space to be more than I had categorized her as for a very long time.
That's huge.
Because yes, because people are who they are, but at the same time, if I'm putting out the energy and I'm putting out this, well, this person is this and they're in this box and they're like this, then obviously that's what the universe is going to consistently show me,
Yeah.
even if they are trying to be different. I'm not giving them that space.
Yeah.
So, and it's been beautiful because she's been texting me consistently and we've been texting back and forth. So that is a huge, huge thing, a huge space of healing. And to me, it's a testimony and confirmation that Cosma does
Mm.
exactly what it's supposed to do. You know,
Mm.
as I have done these things for myself, they have spilled over into my immediate family 100%. I've seen that firsthand. But for it to even spread further
Mm.
into my mother, whom is someone is I don't really associate with on a regular basis, just blew me away. And I was so excited. When I was leaving you the message, I was so excited about it. I was like, I have to share this. So yeah,
No, it's huge. That's huge. And I'm sure so many people relate that are hearing it. I think every single person hearing this has a space or spaces that we categorize them, we box them, we see them as, well, this is how they always are.
yeah,
This is who they always are. This is what they always say. This is how I always feel after I talk to them or whatever. And and you know and we say this with love to everyone listening. Tanny giving the space, the opportunity to be different was the most powerful choice on her part. And some people will be asked to do that multiple times before the confirmation matches, because universe has heard more so than not the opposite. And universe responds with as you wish. But this, when you said you've seen these shifts ever since you've been, or this level of shifts ever since you've been working with and connecting in with Acasma Quantum Energy, which is the energy work we do in this community. And it's a higher dimensional space of connection. It's a higher vibrational space of connection. It's an actual energetic bridge that people have the ability, if they choose to work with, to bridge themselves back into a space they already are as sovereign, divine, and whole, and begin to run that energy through their life. The minute that starts running through the life, all the connection points of the life start being pinged because it's all connected. The partner, the lover, the husband, the wife, the child, the mother, the father, the sibling, the friend, the coworker. They all have different type of connection points, but they all have connection points. And they all start being pinged that there's a new energy in town. Some of them will like the ping and they will engage the ping as well and allow that flow. Some of them will end up liking the ping, but at first they will feel as if the ping is annoying or difficult in some way, and they will fight the ping. We call those resets. And we say when you have an argument with your person, your child, your significant other, even yourself, you have an argument with yourself on something, you're just giving yourself, or the relationship is giving itself, the opportunity to reset into this new alignment you have landed, you've anchored, you've engaged. By you picking up the phone and giving her the opportunity to be different, and her being in an alignment of herself where she was ready to, that was huge. Now, just for anybody who goes through this and your person isn't ready, I think it's important. There's a lot of advice we could give, but one thing I would say is trust the space and allow. Don't take it personal. Stay neutral. Step back mentally, emotionally, physically, even in your imagination. Visualize yourself kind of stepping back. Get through the conversation, get through the connection point with grace best you can, and then allow space and time, but don't shut the door on them maybe being different the next time. Everybody knows you're all adults. You're listening to me, you're an adult. I'm not talking about spaces of abuse where people take on
yeah,
relationships where they know they're not going to ever change and it's a definite issue of boundaries. That can happen. That's another path, right? That happens and we learn. But the spaces in which you understand with your discernment that they have the opportunity to move, only you can make the decision to give them the space to do so. And that's what Tanny did. She gave space for it to be available. Now, if Tanny would have had that happen and it didn't go the way it went, 2, 3 times down the road, Tanny might have said, you know what, I need a boundary.
Yeah.
And still, it's still all in flow. We're not saying that that's even the end. So anybody who says, well, yeah, well, I set boundaries and now I have no mom or I have no dad or I have no other or whatever, it can still move if you can hold that alignment of availability for it to move. But the end of the day, all of us are, I believe, and Tanny, please chime in here. I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is show ourselves, yes, our individualized space of alignment is our first and foremost anchor point.
Yes.
We have to bring the peace. We have to bring the love. We have to bring the presence. And after we've learned that, and we don't have to have it from mama, or we don't have to have it from husband, wife, dada, sister, whatever. When we learn this is where it starts, this is where it anchors, this is where it is most importantly looked for, then it can show up in the other spaces.
Yes.
I think that's another thing is I think you land at a level of your own self-love and your own presence with your being to where it opened up space where your mom could shift out of who she had been because the messages she was bringing you then you no longer need.
Yes. Very true. And I was going to say exactly what you said is it has to start with us, with each and every one of us. Like it had to start with me. I had to do things to get myself in a space to where I was able to receive all of those resets and those shifts as well. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also had to learn to be easy with myself because you said before, you may be in a space where you have to get the lesson again and again and again, where you're continuing to put the person in the box, where you're continuing to assign them the label or the space. I did that for a long time. So I'm definitely not sitting here like, yes, I did this the first time and I'm awesome. No, bumped my head again and again and again and again. So I'm definitely not sitting here like, and just this awesome. No, sometimes it takes 100 times before you learn the lesson
Yeah.
or before it sinks in. But there's information in all of that. There's experience in
Mm-hmm.
all of that because nothing is wasted. So I would say too, if somebody is in a space where they're continuing to have to learn the same lesson over and over and over again, be easy with yourself and give yourself grace because wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful and that's important. That's important. Thank you for bringing it in. I saw an excerpt in the book, the new book I wrote. I'm just going to bring it in real quick. So, this is the
Mhm.
Rise of the Goddess book. This is the Rise of the Goddess book. Tanny's in this course, and the course actually starts in March of 2026, but we're in some like fun spaces of just kind of getting the connection going. And we did the winter solstice together. We got something coming up in January as well, in February, but the course officially starts in March. But in the very back of the book, I have a section that I put a couple pages of another book I'm writing called Rise of the God. But this stood out to me right before I came on the call. I was just flipping through the book and it stood out to me. So I want to read it. It's only 2 sentences. I feel like it kind of goes with everything we've been talking about and how you just said you had hit your head against the wall for a little bit and then, found this space where things opened and things moved and things shifted and things were different. So I'm just going to read this because I felt like it belonged here today. We are surrounded by love always. The goddess may allow rage and anger to heal when she is ready to allow her own sovereignty to rise. When she is ready for this particular story to be
Mm.
complete.
I love that.
I
Very
was like,
fitting.
oh my gosh, it's like 2 sentences, but I read it right before I hit come on the call. And then we started talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's those sentences, like you even said it, those exact You said what I said in different words, but the fact of it, it'll move when you no longer need it to show up. It'll leave when you
Yes.
no longer need the message. The story can
Yes.
change when you no longer need to tell that story anymore.
Yes.
So, wow, that's really beautiful. That's really powerful. I think there's another space of this that could be valuable to everyone, and that's resets. We've talked about it a lot in AQE, Acasma Quantum Energy, like the energetic course space. And we talk about it in the New Human, Mindset Check In. But when anybody begins to change their energy, it affects everybody around them. We talked about this earlier. So it's a positive potential, but it can be registered at first as uncomfortable because all of a
Hmm.
sudden you're not being who you've been.
Hmm.
You're not coming into the space and arguing the way you argued, or getting upset the way you used to, or being quiet and whatever your thing is. So the spaces start resetting, and the register of the reset is interpreted by the persons involved accordingly. But do you see this, Tanny, in your world, in your life? And I see it in the most simplistic spaces of resets as much as I see it in like complex, like super, big resets. But when energy changes in one space of consciousness, in me, then anybody I'm connected with, there's I'm almost now, I'm just like, okay, there's going to be some resets. It's like I'm not like looking for things to go wrong, but I'm like
Right.
intelligently available and aware that my
Yes.
energy is different. I have
Yes.
shifted my understanding of myself. I've changed my understanding of the world around me to some degree. Therefore, everybody that I'm interacting with, there's going to be a moment where our energy is not going to hit the way it hit before because I'm not where I was. And so something's going to happen that's going to give us the opportunity to reset.
Yes. I can tell you, like, the first thing that came to mind when you started to speak about that was me and Chuck. Chuck is my husband, for anybody who's listening that does not know. Um, and this was probably not too long before Sedona. We got to this space where I had shifted in all of these ways, and I was in a different place. Like, I was very much in a different place, but so was he. So I'd been shifting, and he'd been shifting also in his own way, doing his own things. We had just celebrated, let me see, or we were getting ready to celebrate our 14th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
And I would say for probably 13 of those years, we'd been in, we had been existing in these spaces where we were both being ourselves, but we were just different versions of ourselves in that we were connected to different levels of consciousness. And when we rose, it was like we both rose at the same time. And then suddenly it was like the energy just hit and we didn't recognize each other anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a major, major thing because we were both, and we both felt it. We both felt it from each other. And it was a very uncomfortable space. I was very much like, okay, this is where I am now. I can't be here anymore. Like I'm up here. I can't deal with this. And if this is what it's going to be, then I don't know if I can do this anymore. And what's interesting is he said pretty much the same thing, just in a different way. And so we were just in this space where it was like we knew each other, but we didn't know this new space of each other. And we didn't know if the new spaces that we were going to be compatible or if it was going to work out. So it was a little bit disorienting. It was quite disturbing because I was like, what? I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, what is going to happen here? What are we going to do? Like, what's going to happen in my family? And I just had to get myself in a space where I was like, you know what? Again, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. And whatever happens is going to be for the highest and greatest good of me, of Chuck, and of my family. So it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember leaving a message in the Beacons of Love chat. And I was just like, you could hear it in my voice because I was just stressed and I was very emotional. And I just didn't know which way it was going to go. And then later on that day, after I'd, sat and I think I actually did an AQE session on myself and, did a couple of things. And so then I went in and I spoke again later. And I remember Kate coming on, Quantum Kate, and saying, I knew this was going to work out just the way that it was supposed to. And she was like, and I can hear the shift in your voice from the first message you left to this next one you left. Like I can hear the shift. And so, yeah, I mean, it ended up being a beautiful, beautiful thing,
Yeah.
and we're still not completely, totally 100%. We're working on our things together. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
We both still have many things to work on. We're both willing to work on them and we're both doing it together. So, yeah,
It's a,
so shifts can
well,
be very uncomfortable. Yeah.
shifts can be very uncomfortable. And I will say this, the more uncomfortable they are, it's usually a sign of their complexity. So when a shift is easier or more doable,
Mm.
it's an okay shift. It's a fine shift. It's bringing something lovely. But when a shift is uncomfortable, when a shift takes a little more time, when a shift takes true choice on everyone's part to show up and to be available, there's a complexity. Now, you probably already thought about this, but as you said, all things are unfolding in divine perfection. It's a belief structure
Mhm.
you hold. I believe Chuck holds it as well, that it's all going the way it's supposed to go, even in the spaces that don't look that way, right?
Yes.
And I like to say, even more so when the spaces don't look that way, because those are the moments we're turning away from, in a sense, or we're repositioning ourselves into a different flow state. So when they really feel weird is when they're really actually moving. That's why it feels weird. We're leaving, we're
Yes.
changing, we're shifting. And so to know that you already have that, yes, um, yes, space of understanding of yourselves is huge. That's big. And I believe that's why you can be this space, because I think all spaces have many layers. One
Mhm.
is your individual journey as Tanny, one is his individual journey as Chuck, and then all of the things that come off of those two spaces with family and lines, ancestor lines, and, you know, that's one level, and that on its own is enough. But it's inevitable, because the way consciousness is interconnected, that then there are spaces being moved and shifted and alchemized and changed by certain humans that have yes, have consented to do it, came in to do it, are capable to do it, and are holding these alignments that are affecting the collective. So, with your thing with Chuck, and I think you were probably leading there anyways and jump back in a sec, I believe this massive reset that started before you went to Sedona, because your higher mind and higher heart knew, and his knew, that I was going to ask you to be proxy for the divine masculine and divine feminine. I do not know you guys that deeply in this human lifetime. I don't know your ins and outs. I don't know what makes up your daily lives, what your belief structures are at depth, at core. But I don't need to know that. I hold a space, I set up an alignment, people hear it,
Mhm.
they feel the call, they come in, and we're all here doing this. It's another layer of what's happening. We have our individual lives, our individual explorations, our individual expansion spaces, our loving families, our friends, our jobs, our self space connections, but inevitably, many that are in human form are also here as conduits of change.
Mhm.
And so when you and Chuck, and Chuck even coming, like, you could have went alone, but You came and Chuck came and he was in the background. Your kids were there in the background and you're right there doing stuff with us and our group. And we were doing energy work. We were doing ceremony. We had classes and it was like, I think 4 days together.
Mhm.
And at one point, maybe having said 10 words or less to your husband in my whole life, I say, hey, will you stand in the middle of a circle of women for a ceremony at the top of Cathedral Rock? Okay. Yeah, I could do that. So the preparation, the reset, had its layers. The things you went through prior to Sedona, you guys in your personal life, it had its individualized space of purpose. But I also feel like there was this underlying massive space of, yes, your connectivity to a shift of a species and you being proxy points that knew before you came into this life and before you even knew each other as these two individual spaces of soul experience. On the other side of it, you were like, okay, yeah, jump, go. I'll see you there. We're
Mhm.
going to do this thing. And then you get in and you're like, wait, what? Where? And then you're raised by mom. How cool is that? The conversation starts with how you and mom were, but
Mhm.
how you and mom were is part of how you are who you are.
Yes. Yes.
And so then we get to Sedona and you guys are in that space, and had you not experienced what you already, and you're still doing, I'm still doing, we're all still doing, we're all still resetting, we're all still shifting. It's never done. We're eternal consciousness. But had you not had the reset spaces you had prior, I don't think you guys would have been in the center of that circle.
No. Which goes back to exactly what we were talking about with divine timing. So the
Mm-hmm.
idea that even though I didn't understand it, even though it didn't feel good at all, me remembering, okay, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I'm just going to sit with this and let the universe do what it needs to do. And then, like you said, we ended up in Sedona in that space. And had that not happened, just like you said, we probably would have been standing in the middle of that circle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's when I think about things like that, it blows my mind
Yeah.
because I couldn't have planned that.
Mm-mm.
You know, in my humanness, in my small
That's
place of understanding, I've done that.
That's why in our community and in our teachings of Acasma, we use the phrase trust yourself.
Yes.
And we say the phrase allow and you are safe. We say those all the time. And if you think about it, it's this is why. This is
Hmm.
why. People used to say to me in the very beginning of 2020 or so when I started doing this work, they would say, do you want to, practice with me? Like I could be your person and you could practice on me. You could tell me what you're going to do when you get there and then you could see how it sounds. And it's a lovely thought. And I understand that it's a way some people work and many people in corporate world do that for speeches and all of this.
Hmm.
But I said, I can't do that because I have to be completely present with the energies. And I have to register the energies and allow and direct. So I have to be completely in the moment. I can have a general understanding, but I can't box it because by the time I get to the space or I get to the event or I hold the Zoom or whatever it is, we're in another frequency in some way because it's always, always, always moving.
Hmm.
So when we were going up the mountain, we were climbing the red rock formation known as Cathedral Rock in Sedona, Arizona. Nothing was planned. Nobody said we're going to go in this order. You go with this person. I go with this person. It just wasn't like that. My
Hmm.
events are very much, you know, I'm here if you need me, but you also need to take care of yourselves. Like, let's go. And, it's supportive, but it's also, you learn how to be strong, right? And do you as well and help each other, right? But there's no setup. So, anyways, for me, this was personal probably, but for me, I have this visual that I've not ever lost that I will hold for the rest of my life. climbing up the rock and looking up as I'm actually climbing, looking up, and I can see about 30 feet ahead of me, Chuck and you. And I'm just watching you two as I'm climbing, normal. It's not like I'm standing to the sideline scrutinizing. I'm just watching you as I'm climbing. And I know I'm headed that way. They're doing it. They're alive. Great. We're all still alive. And this is presence. This is allow. This is trust. I hear in my being, ask them to be in the circle. The circle. I didn't even have the circle set up yet in my head. This is how it works when you're completely present. And this is asking somebody who spoke maybe 10 words or less to me in their whole life and isn't necessarily a part of, he is now. We love Chuck. Dr. Chuck in the house. We love Chuck. But at that point, we didn't know him, right? He was new. And yet asking somebody to do something that a lot of people could have saw as crazy or weird or no. But he didn't. He was so gracious and available and kind. And he stood there, one man with his wife in front of him in a crevice of the top, at the top of the rocks, a small area with like 7 women around him or something. I don't know. And they were all doing light language and signing and chanting. And then I'm just chanting and saying whatever's coming from spirit. And then I was moving your bodies. I remember that. I would grab your body, I would hold your hands, and I was trying, because I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want to interrupt it and say, do this. So I was trying to direct while just moving you and being able to continue the ceremonial chant and information. And you all just did it. Nobody questioned it. Nobody's, it floors me. People have a wedding. They gotta rehearse. You got everybody tell them where to walk, tell them where to stand. This is when people step into higher mind, higher heart presence.
Yes.
It is so beautiful and so rich and deep with this space of peace and balance that passes all understanding. But we did the space, and had the reset not happened, the space wouldn't have been you and him. It would have been whatever it would have been. But because you chose the choices you chose along the way, you were preparing yourselves to be this other experiential space of you that was awaiting you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And if we hadn't have allowed the reset, if we had fought it, if I hadn't just trusted where I was, same thing. So
Yeah.
all of that, like just learning to trust and
Let the
to be
universe bring you
present.
the good stuff.
Yes.
Let the universe bring you the good stuff. So, okay. And then we'll add this in because it does go nicely with this topic. Chuck was so good because he was brand new to space, stood there, did his thing, offered his presence, but not only that, anchored energetically a shift for all men, all masculine human beings, because that's what you guys were representing. And it was a template shift or template realignment that needed to be done because we had a lot of distortions in the field. And so we were clearing the distortions and implementing the new template. And Chuck had feedback. Like he shared it at the we had a class space at the vacation house I was in, and he graciously agreed to come sit in front of 13 people he just met and share. That was so awesome. And so that was really beautiful. I might put a clip of it here. I'll see if
graciously came in here to share experiential space with us from our time at Cathedral, and the children are in the car. So we're letting Chuck share, and we're thanking him, and he's going to go on his way, and we'll continue forward. And he's even on Zoom, so go Chuck, go.
All right.
It's your floor.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a very interesting experience. When it first started, I didn't know what to expect or what was about to happen. And it's almost like it was like a dream state, actually, because I'm now thinking back as to what happened, and I'm having trouble kind of recalling, but there was a few different things that occurred. One, at first, I was just trying to get myself into that space and just trying to just relax and just kind of see what happens and try to stop the constant chatter that goes on in the head sometimes, and kind of step back from that and observe it. But as we were there, at first, because I know we're discussing masculine, and I know that we're bringing up ancestral stuff, but for whatever reason, I started seeing flashes of like my stepfather, who's no longer with us, the face of my grandfather, who's no longer with us, and then the face of my grandfather on my mother's side, who I never had the opportunity to meet because he passed before I was alive. But that was happening. And then as I was there, for whatever reason, and this was what was interesting, it's surreal because it was before, Andrea mentioned, like a pillar of light, but I was sitting there, and as I was standing there, I felt as though like this came to mind. It was almost like a tornado of light coming out of me. And this was before that was even mentioned, which kind of freaked me out when she mentioned it, but like a tornado of light that was coming from my head straight up into the atmosphere and then encompassing the earth, around like that. And I tried to hold that vision, or at least not, but tried to hold that space, I guess, and it would come and go. Sat in that for a while really just kind of feeling the moment. And some things came to mind. Another thing that was a little bit surreal was just out of nowhere, something just kept saying, "I am light, I am light, I am light," and which was, once again, before she even mentioned that, which was, once again, just, it's bewildering to me, but that was happening there. Other things that came to mind was, I am powerful as well, I am powerful, I am light. And then another thing that came up was things that come to mind were, I am enough, I am who I am, and I am enough. So that was happening as well. And they were just kind of going over and over in my head. And then when we started to move our hands in different positions, and my hand was over, Tanny's heart, at first I'm absorbing the moment, and then I noticed that our breaths were in sync, like completely in sync. And so I was sitting in that and just kind of getting to understand her energy, I think. And as we were sitting there, for whatever reason, there was this thought that she had an energy too that was coming from her up, but it was like more of a, not as bright white, but like a fiery yellow almost. That's kind of how I envisioned it, and it was going up and doing the same thing. And then it came to my realization that I need to notice her and notice that energy that's there, and then pay attention to it. And sat in that while we were finishing out the ceremony, and it was a very, very interesting experience. It was almost like a dream state, almost, because when I got, on the way here, I was reflecting back at what happened, and I almost couldn't, when you wake up from a dream, first thing and then it's over, like you're like, wow, and all the details, and you can pick everything out, and if you don't write it down, a couple hours later, it's like, okay, I had this weird dream, and I don't know what it's about, can't remember, but I started, trying to remember exactly what was happening during that moment. It was peaceful, it was very, it was very calming to me. There was a bit of intimate, it was an intimate space as well, and I don't know, I felt honored to be there and to be a part of it. I really did.
Did you say something about you saw the spirals of light kind of weaving together and braiding? Did you see that before she mentioned it?
I see that before she mentioned that,
Yeah.
and then she was, discussing, she said, "I am light" a few times, and I'm like, okay. Because those, like, that idea of that energy, I don't know where it came, I just don't know. It just came to mind. Especially the "I am light." It was almost like someone was saying it in my head.
That's a saying we do in Acasma. It's very, you are safe, you are light, I am safe, I am light. It's a very, very, so I think it's so interesting that you unknowingly were in that space of availability to bring that message to yourself instead of a lot of people hearing it first. Like, it was so pure through your experience. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for being open to standing in the midst of that and just the intimacy of I just love that it was a husband and wife that was bringing it, and it just, I felt very honored and privileged to witness the experience.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was really powerful to hear his words and how confirming, because I didn't tell him much at all about what he was doing or why he was doing it, but everything he said he saw fit what I understood we did.
Yeah.
And nobody sent out memos. We were all working in unified field. Yeah, that was really beautiful. It is really beautiful. It's one of my favorite moments. Okay, so and we're going to go back. We're going back. It's, we'll figure out all the specifics for that, but yeah, we're going to go back. Okay, so we did good. We talked about the homeschool because that was a space that really did touch a lot of hearts, and I'd like to come on again and maybe even talk about yes, parenting, because I think that's a really powerful topic of I, all different ages, different spaces of parenting. But I remember the ones when I was shifting into this new space of myself and had little ones, and you're trying to learn how to be a mom because you've never done that before, learn how to be a wife that is a mom because that's another layer, and then maintain who you are and not lose you in the sense of maybe you're even finding you for the first time, and raising these incredible little souls that are eons and eons and eons old and chose you to be a portal to which they get to come into a world through to explore themselves further. That's amazing. So I'd love to do another video on parenting from a higher mind, higher heart perspective. We'll find the space to do it. We've been on here almost an hour, so I'm going to respect your time. You're so good. All right. So anything you want to share with the beautiful viewers before we close out this space, Tanny? Anything else you're bringing to the table today?
I just want to say again, like the importance of giving yourself grace and making space and making time for you. Like that's what came to mind when you were just talking about, like when you put it in that context. I never thought about it like that before. Like just learning to be a mom, and then learning to be a wife, and then learning to be a wife and a mother, and then all of these other spaces that go along with it. It's a lot. And in many situations, I know, and not all, it seems as though as women, we're the backbone of the family. Like we're the ones that literally are like the glue, and we hold everything together. And I know for me, for a long time, I was so busy doing all of the other things that I negated to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
And I was doing so much, and I was burnt out and I was tired, but I was still trying to give from this place that was not, that was empty.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of reactivity spaces, and spaces where I was short tempered, and spaces where I was not my best self because I wasn't taking care of me. So I guess one of the biggest things I can say is make time for you, whether you're a mother, father, whatever space you're coming from. You cannot give from an empty well. So make sure that you take time to take care of yourself because you're important and you're worth that.
I love it. Gold right there. Gold, gold, gold. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, funny enough, I was debating what to do with this video because I have two YouTube channels. I have the A.L. Garris original channel that I do like the grid on, and meditations and light beam videos, and it's everything about my world, right? But I really love these types of conversations with another community member. And so I started the AwakenPod, which is another channel on YouTube, but I haven't put anybody else on there yet because I just haven't felt right about it. I'm listening to my intuition and finding my groove and holding the space and building the space. But before I came on this call today, and I do a lot of these calls, I do a lot of these, pull somebody out of the
They're
community.
awesome. Yeah.
But before I came on this one, I thought, it's the new year and I've done one podcast for the new year so far. And maybe I'll start bringing these over to that channel and they can be part of the Awaken Pod because we're a pod. We're a pod of light.
Mhm.
We're the Acasma pod, whatever. And it would make sense, right? And I could even take like excerpts and make shorter videos that are like a piece of it on the original channel. And then if you want the whole thing, go to the pod. And what I feel like there's a confirmation in your closing because your closing was saying, make space for you. You'll be empty and you won't have anything to pour from the vessel. You'll be depleted. Make space for you. And the first video of 2026 on the Awaken Pod came out yesterday. And it was 10 things I do now that I didn't do then. And before I woke up. And I talk about how I was exhausted. I had a beautiful life. I had everything anybody could ever want. Even me. I loved everything I had. But I was so tired. And my health was frayed. Because I was stressed, because I was so tired. And I didn't have any space for me. I had a lot of beautiful spaces, but there was no personal spaces. Even my altar, I gave it to God. And I talk in the video about learning to give my altar to the God that's in me, with me, never separate from me. It
I love that.
was such a big space, that video. It was such a big space of just sharing 10 things I do now I didn't do then. But you just confirmed such a big alignment of this incredible availability that's just waiting for all of us, of self-love, of self-nurture, of self-availability, and it not being selfish, it not being like, you know, you're lazy or you're taking yourself away from blah, blah, blah. It's you're doing the utmost for you, which is then inevitably the utmost for all.
Yes.
So don't be surprised if you see this over on the Awaken Pod. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I might do it. You might be the official first guest ever.
Be awesome. Whatever you do, it's going to be just right. I know that. I know that.
All right, Tanny. Thank you so
This
much
is
for sharing.
this is the last thing. So I've
Okay.
seen that crown in your background back
Oh,
there with the
yeah.
half moon on it.
Yes. Wait,
So I know
we gotta do it
mine's a little
together.
bit.
You would put our crowns on together. Okay, ready? We dub ourselves Goddess Queens.
Yes. Right.
This is when you choose to love yourself.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that you brought it into the call. I love that you brought it into the call.
Because I saw it in the background in like two other videos, and I was like, we have very similar crowns. And I'm like, so I'm going to bring mine out and I'm going to
And
show
that's so
her.
cool because I mean, it's not like super common. I know it's becoming more because women are stepping into these spaces and allowing, right?
Mhm.
But how cool that you have a crown like my crown. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Oh my goodness. I set it back here. I got it just a couple weeks ago for the goddess course, for this new goddess course I'm
Okay.
doing. I got
Okay.
another crown. It's a little ways away from me. It's a little bit more juju, but it's got roses in it and spikes, and like
Oh,
gold spikes, like spindles, and then like red roses. And I got that. I'm going to do that for one of the ceremonies. And I got this
that's
really
awesome.
big lacy, sexy gown that I'm going to wear for one of the ceremonies. You don't have to be this type of goddess reflection. There's a lot of reflections of the goddess. Just want to make sure that's known for all women that are hearing us. And some women, that would not be their thing. They might like a wreath of flowers, or they might like nothing on their head. They might like to hold a spear or a staff or hold a drum or deer antlers or any, like everybody's so different. It is what resonates with you that assists that reconnectivity of self-love and authenticity of your
Mhm.
divine feminine rising. And that's what this space is all about. So it's called the Rise of the Goddess, but it's not about the goddesses of history. That's very
No.
important. I will not teach you about them. I will not bring in them into the course because that's not what this is about. What I teach is about the divine feminine of you.
Mhm.
And whether you like a crown or not, doesn't matter. But that's pretty cool you had one, Tanny. I love that. That's fun. I'm glad you brought it in. I'm glad you brought it in. Oh my goodness. All right, so we'll get together and we'll decide for the next one. Huge
Wonderful.
wave of love to Chuck and the children. And
Yes,
you have fur babies too. You have
I do.
okay, to them
Two
too.
bullies. Yes. Yes.
We love them all. We love them all. All right. We're going to send a huge wave of love to all that stayed with us here, that we're in this
Yes.
space here. Just allow a
Yes.
breath. Just allow a breath. Everybody hearing us right now, just take a breath. Just allow the space. Know that you are loved beyond measure at whatever increment of the journey you are on. Top of the mountain, somewhere in the middle, or just taking the first step. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved.
Mhm.
A wave of love to you and a blessing on all the spaces of your life.
Mm.
Yane yakau okuayi. Ianakawa asaotoa. Nea paukuayi. Nea paukuayi. Thank you, Holy Ones. Thank you, Tanny.
Mm.
All right, Holy One. Blessings on all your nows, and I'll see you in the next space of us.
Yes. Blessings to you as well.